Welcome to a galaxy far, far away. Here at the Cantina Podcast, we provide top shelf service, including rumors, leaks, news, and reviews. Come in, order a Loman Ale, and remember, no droids allowed.
Welcome back to another week of the Cantina. My name's Cam Clark. I'm here, as always, with Kel Malone. Hi, Kel.
Hi.
And this week, for the first time in a few weeks, is our navigator, Shockey. Hey, Shockey, how are you?
Hey, it's finally good to be back.
Yep. So all three of us are in, and we're going to be talking about quite a lot of Star Wars news that's come out, a little bit of snippets this week. Before we do that, just kind of a little bit of a rundown on some of the other shows and things that you can find on our GenreVerse podcast network. Animaversals, Breaking Geek Radio, the podcast. We've got Marvel Multiverse Mayhem. What else have we got? We've got trailer reactions, we've got interviews, we've got news stories, and you can find everything over at lrmonline.com as well. All the news stories that we are covering today are stuff that we have covered on the website. So we're going to get straight into the first topic. Where are we going first, Kyle?
The release windows and kind of the weird.
Yeah.
What we are, I would call a switcheroo, but of course they make the official schedule, so it's not necessarily a switcheroo. But the weird dates coming up. Yeah.
So I'm just going to get those details up at the moment. So, Vanity Fair released an article this week. It's quite an extensive article, which covered a hell of a lot of stuff, to be honest. So, we split it up into a few different categories. And then over the last couple of days, actually, since that hit, we've had some even in more depth articles come out that have kind of spawned from that initial discussion with all the people at Star Wars and Lucasfilm about what's coming up and going forward. So there is quite a lot to cover. I guess the most important thing for us, as Kel said, is to kind of look at some of the release windows. As we know, it's no big surprise to anyone, really. Obi-Wan Kenobi releases kind of like next Friday. So, we knew about that one. But we had an idea of where we thought kind of things were going, which was the Andor would be next for live action, then Ahsoka, and then kind of see where we go from there, if you like. So what we did find out from the Vanity Fair article is that the Andor should be out late summer. That's basically what they've said in the article, and that's officially coming from, obviously, Lucasfilm. They've got complete access to that. It's a kind of an exclusive access thing Vanity Fair have got going on there. So Andor should arrive late summer. Then Mando Season 3 should be late 22. It says initially, and then later on in the article, it kind of corrects itself a little bit and says late 22/early 23. So a little bit of a kind of change in what's going on there. And that, to be honest, matches up with what we were all kind of guessing anyway. Andor would come, then Mando, and then Ahsoka sometime in 2023. That's all we've said about that, 23 at the moment. Guys, what do you think about these? I'll start with you, Kyle. What do you think about these kind of dates that we've heard? Anything shocking, or just exactly as you thought you were going to get?
I'm a little bit shocked to hear Mando, like them saying late 2022. Now I'm guessing it'll be a Boba Fett thing, like December, and also like the previous seasons of it. But it just
late 22.
It felt the way that they were treating filming news. it felt like we could see things, maybe a month or two later than we had thought, because this feels real similar to like what both Mike, Shockey, and you, Cam, kind of were, putting your best thinking caps on for.
Yeah.
So it's only surprising that. And because of the filming, official filming news, but I would again remind myself and us that we thought they were probably filming multiple things at one time, whenever they could, not necessarily main characters or stuff, but like we said, if they had the stage filled with sand for a Kenobi scene, and they were going to need a stage, filled with sand for a Mando's scene, especially establishment. Load the background up on stagecraft. The sand's already in place. why not
as long
film
as you
it?
don't need main cast members who obviously require scheduling and they work on other projects. So you have to have a window for them, but you don't need a window for people to just stand in there and do establishing shots.
Man.
Don't need that.
And there's a lot of things that I get excited about as kind of a movie tech, show tech, Hollywood tech geek, to where it's like, man, that could really, increase production times for this new era that we live in.
I mean, I think one of the things that Favreau said in the article was they can put out one of these shows in about half the time it would take to do a movie. That's kind of the system that they're working on at the moment, and that's pretty good. I mean, and that in itself, before you get to visual effects, and then that does cut down costs as well, which is essential when you're doing TV as opposed to box office. What about you, Shockey? What anything you can take out of this, or just kind of as you thought we were going to get anyway?
It's pretty much on point what we've been speculating for a while and what we've heard from our sources. But the question is going to be is where they're going to throw the Bad Batch in between, or in that sprinkle in there.
Yeah,
just from the live action.
Yeah.
So they didn't. And what some fans are starting to speculate is the way that the Bad Batch ended, and kind of the beginning of like the Empire tapping into the clones, and will we see Vader in that? Is it going to be right up against Kenobi, where we get the 6 episodes of Kenobi and then go into Bad Batch and see that storyline of what Vader was doing in that time period, or is it going to be after Andor?
Quite a jump. I mean, I know Kel, you didn't watch it, but Shockey and I did. Bad Batch season 1.
I tried.
How many years post Sith would you say that is at the moment, Shockey? How many years after Revenge of the Sith?
For Bad Batch?
Yeah, season 1.
Oh, it's immediate. Well, season 1's immediately after Revenge of the
So do you think they would do a time jump?
There's a possibility, because the way that it ended, there wasn't any type of clear mission they were on. It kind of just, what's the planet that the clones were made on?
Camino.
I wanted to say Batu for some reason, but Camino. But I mean, that was destroyed, and they're kind of going off, into the unknown of what their next mission is or what their next challenge is. And then we see the Empire basically, setting up to start cloning. We see the character, the scientist, the doctor from Mando season 1, as an appearance there. So, one thing that Favreau loves to do in Star Wars is time jump and go and tell this story. Now go and tell. It's never been streamlined, right? So could we get that? Or
Filoni?
I'm sorry, Filoni. Filoni. With the time jumps there, but it could be something that we see after Andor, right? If we get Andor, say in the fall, and it runs its 8 to 10 episodes or whatever it's at, and then there's a kind of a lull in between Andor and Mandalorian season 3.
That could be the place to drop it. Yeah, I mean that would make more sense to me if they're talking late summer. I mean, that could be anything from
September, October.
It could be August. It could be, I guess, September. It could be the start of October, depending on when you decide sort of fall comes in. So there is going to be a gap between Obi-Wan Kenobi and when we see Andor, and there's probably going to be a slightly larger gap between Andor and Mando season 2. Bear in mind that we don't know for definite. There's no, because there's that conflicting information within the article itself. It could be that Mando ends up getting pushed to kind of January next year, or it could hit December 29th, like Book of Boba Fett did last year, just so that they're hitting 2022. It's kind of really hard to say on that at the moment, but that's kind of where we're thinking, roughly winter time, basically. Christmassy kind of New Year time is when we should be watching kind of Mando season 3. So, I mean, if I was in charge of it, I'd probably drop it between Andor and Mando season 3, but they maybe have various other reasons, and as you said, there could be some connections there we don't know about.
And
I mean,
go ahead.
I was just going to kind of say, to kind of counterpoint that, is that with Bad Batch being geared towards more kids, you may want to show that during the summertime while they're off.
I never considered that either. That's probably a good point. Yeah.
And we were hearing there was a relatively decent rumor that Visions season 2 would happen later this year. So that's another potential thing.
Right.
It doesn't run for weeks, but it's still something that can be dropped in somewhere.
I think we will know more next week at Star Wars Celebration, because they've only talked live action at the moment. Yes. And there is an animated
droids
of the Division as well.
Things,
and we haven't really heard much about that. Tales of the Jedi, we haven't heard much about that, but we know it's definitely a thing now. But we don't know exactly what it is and when any of these animated shows are coming. So definitely going to be interesting. In the kind of same article, there was also a little bit of information about Andor, and it was a kind of, if you like, first details of kind of story details and things like that were out for Andor itself, and one of the things that they had kind of said in the article was that Genevieve O'Reilly's kind of Mon Mothma was kind of the way it's hinted is it's almost like a joint lead role with Cassian Andor's Diego Luna. The quote itself said, Mon Mothma and Andor, Genevieve O'Reilly's Galactic Center, secret leads an uprising against the Empire. Diego Luna stars a man who believes in nothing but eventually risks everything to aid the rebellion. Andor premieres late summer 22, etc., etc., etc. on there as well. So there's a few interesting pieces of that. What story do you want to go and have a look at next, Kel?
The movies. Since we're talking about future schedules and
future
stuff,
plans and everything
movies,
like that. So after that, we didn't. The kind of strange thing about that original article, it was very tentative what they said about the movies. It was almost nothing, and then we got a follow up to that where Kathleen Kennedy opened up a little bit about the movie side of things. So, in terms of the movie schedule, as we knew it to be, but we knew this was obviously changing. We've been saying for some time it was looking like Rogue Squadron was delayed. We didn't know when it would happen. We've said in the past that we had heard that there was a few issues with it that needed to be ironed out before they could kind of move ahead with it, but it was never officially delayed. Well, kind of is now. Kathleen Kennedy said of the movie side, we have a roadmap. I would say that Taika's story, which we thought would be the second Star Wars movie on the schedule, fits more specifically into that. That's an interesting comment. So Taika's movie fits into the roadmap, but Rogue Squadron feels a little bit outside of that. That's got fans certainly debating that Taika's will move into a new era, which was kind of what everybody's best guess was at that point anyway. Patty, as in Patty Jenkins, is still developing the script further for Rogue Squadron, but, we kind of pushed it off to the side for the moment. Then we will talk about how that connects to the central spine that we're working on. There's a couple of filmmakers that we've been in conversation with over quite a long period of time that I'm hoping will come in and make the overall commitment that John and Dave have made. That's ideally what I would love to see happen in the feature space. So she also talked a little bit about Kevin Feige's movie, which is something that we've kind of heard a lot about. However, I think it's worth pointing out, and the people who wrote it, Vanity Fair, pointed this out, that this interview was conducted in March, which was before Michael Waldron's recent comments that he has actually begun writing that movie for Kevin Feige.
Right.
So maybe we're talking a month or so ago that Kennedy had said, I wouldn't go so far. Kevin is normally an amazing one, but the goal is definitely having somebody make more of a commitment. I hesitate to use the words trilogies anymore because Star Wars is much more about sort of persistent storytelling. And she did talk a lot about the kind of Feige Star Wars movie and saying it's the rumour mill. I think everyone knows Kevin's a huge Star Wars fan. He's clearly been inspired by Star Wars in the way which he's handled Marvel. I know he's got a lot on his plate right now, but I'd love to see at some point what movie he might come up with. But right now, no, there isn't anything specifically on the horizon. But of course, Michael Waldron recently said I've started writing that movie, and we
Right.
know that that's the movie for Kevin Feige. But I mean, just thinking out loud from what we've heard about so far, there is a little bit about Rian Johnson, but I'll come back to that, all right, because it's a little bit of a different issue. So in terms of the movies that we have out there at the moment, we have Taika Waititi's movie, we have Rogue Squadron, which seems to have been pushed off to the side at the moment, and the script's being developed further. So I don't think there's much we can say about that until we hear more. And then we have Kevin Feige's movie. We don't know anything about these other filmmakers that she is talking to, trying to but that could be potentially many more years down the line before those kind of projects get up and running. So really, we've only got 2 potential Star Wars movies on the horizon over the next few years. Is that what you guys are taking from that?
Much. Shockey, what do you think about this and the stuff you had heard about Rogue Squadron's behind the scenes stuff, man?
Well,
the fact that it took the back burner.
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys remember way back when, I think it was 2019. I got wind, and we wrote an article on it too, that there wasn't going to be don't expect a Star Wars movie for a while. Like, and everybody's kind of like, oh, the Rise of Skywalker just ended and stuff. And when I said it, I was like, no, like when I mean a while, I mean like a good solid minute. Yeah, exactly. Everybody was thinking like 2021. And then of course, the pandemic hit and stuff, right? But there was never anything in play here for movies right off the bat.
Mike froze.
He just he was about to reveal. He was about to.
Oh, yeah, okay.
He was about to reveal secret information in the CIA.
You didn't get it? Oh,
the DIA.
Can't say it again.
Disney. Well, DIA actually exists.
Yeah.
But anyways, go ahead.
Disney Plus Day. When when Kathleen Kennedy mentioned that those were all in development, that was like fairly new. Like the Patty Jenkins, Taika Waititi, like that was pretty much within like a couple months, because I think what you get from the article too is that Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy learned that the theatrical side of Star Wars we were burned out from it and going into more television. And if you go back and read it and you read some other stories about George Lucas, that's what Lucas's was vision for Star Wars for a long time.
Oh, both of you guys are up. Ooh, we're having some internet issues.
Okay. Now you froze up on us, Kyle.
Oh, yeah. What about now? Am I?
You're good.
Now?
You're good. Yeah.
Okay. I can see everybody. Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
I'm good.
We had some. Yeah, we have some rough weather somewhere in Virginia, so it might be messing with things.
But to keep it short and sweet,
I know what you mean.
It doesn't really surprise me. Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron is being worked on. Now she's in development. She's going to do Wonder Woman 3 first, knock that out. Kind of like Rian Johnson with his Netflix deal. There's no rush, and that's a good thing. I think that this news here is take your time with it and make sure when you do make a film, it is the right film and it's the right story, and everyone's going to enjoy it. I think the other bit of news with Kathleen Kennedy looking and trying to get commitments from other filmmakers. I'm hoping that she's not trying to get the big budget people anymore. I understand Feige. I understand Taika Waititi. Even Patty Jenkins, I understand. But I would love to see kind of like what Favreau and Filoni, like Favreau had been established. He made great movies and stuff like that. But, he's always kind of been under the radar as a great filmmaker, or like one of those mega movie star like filmmakers. He's made a lot of great films. Dave Filoni is always, been loyal to Lucasfilm. So I would love to see something like that where they pair somebody from Lucasfilm up with someone who's a up-and-comer filmmaker, or a filmmaker who is, proven himself on a couple screens, but dedicated to make the right Star Wars film.
Do you know there's a team I've wanted to put together for a Star Wars project movie, preferably, whether it's a Disney Plus one or a theatrical one, because I still think we'll get a Disney Plus one day. Ronald Moore, First Contact, and
Yes.
the Battlestar Galactica. Battlestar Galactica. You see where my brain's going?
Yep.
And then let him have Bear McCreary do the soundtrack for it.
I think that would be awesome as a series, like a Disney Plus series. Yeah. Forget one movie, or if they could get a trilogy, that would be amazing.
Something. I've been wanting to put them. I wanted Bear to do a Star Wars soundtrack for a while. His stuff with Battlestar was great. His stuff, even on Christine likes the show. I don't care for the show specifically, but the music's good.
Yeah.
That time traveling one with the lady that goes back to like colonial times and then like World War II. I forget what it's called. Some romance thing. No. This it takes place in the UK, Scotland, Ireland, and it's mystical and anyways.
Time travelers. Outlander.
No, it's older than
Outlander.
that. Outlander. There it is.
Outlander. There we go.
That's the one. That's the one. Bear McCreary does the music on that, and it's been it's quite good. But he's but yeah, Ronald Moore. Like you're right on that, Shockey. We don't need. Look what Marvel did with the, like, so to speak, mid-tier directors, if you will, niche directors and things like
that.
The
Russos
like
came from Community.
Exactly, TV guys, comedy guys. You know, exactly.
I mean, Taika made a few arty films, but it wasn't exactly a blockbuster director when he came in and did.
Dude, he saved the Thor franchise. Like, that guy right there came in and saved the Thor franchise. So he went from like, okay, we kind of know who this guy is, to like, all right, you. And
then he just happened to win an Oscar for best, at the same time, just run about the same time.
Right,
Ragnarok was coming out. Jojo Rabbit did as well. So
Jojo Rabbit. Yep.
So yeah.
What about the what's that?
Nothing.
Oh, I was gonna say, what about the final director and movies that were mentioned long ago, Cam, that was just brought up.
Rian Johnson and his trilogy. I mean, this is one that comes as no surprise. No one was expecting, Star Wars Celebration hitting next week, and they go, Rian Johnson isn't really making Knives Out 2. He's been secretly making Star Wars The Knife Out or something like that. Star Wars the musical. Yeah, I mean, it just wasn't going to happen. So at the moment, Rian Johnson's got Knives Out 2, Knives Out 3 to make, and he has got an overall deal with Netflix to produce so much content, and it's pretty good money he's making out of that as well. So he is a very busy man over the next few years. So whether he comes back to that or not, I mean, I've always said that I will believe it's happening when they show the shot of him sitting in the director's chair on first day of shooting, going, it's, here
There's
we
a
go.
Logo and
because it just seems like he's got too much on, and as much as he might like Star Wars, there's all that baggage about all the crap that he took from The Last Jedi as well. Then there's that baggage that Lucasfilm have to consider as well. Then there's the fact that how much time or commitment does he have, and he's off doing his own things at the moment, and Netflix is kind of stolen someone else off them, because they stole Benioff and Wise off them as well. So, whether we see it or not, I don't know, but I'm not expecting it for like a decade at least. I'm going
to let you guys in on a little secret here. As long as Kathleen Kennedy is the president of Lucasfilm, Rian Johnson has a green light, an open door to make a Star Wars film or Star Wars films. Though she loves him, and I think it's a smart move. Let Rian Johnson make the Knives Out trilogy. Let him, and if he needs to, if he needs to make another project for Netflix afterwards, let him do that. If it's like you said, we don't see that trilogy for a decade, time heals everything. The farther we are away from The Last Jedi, the more open fans are going to be to his trilogy.
Hey, you got people asking for Jar Jar Binks back, so
you never know. But as long as Kathleen Kennedy is in charge, Rian Johnson has an open door at Lucasfilm.
I said that a long time ago to Jammer. I remember I don't remember what show it was, but I said, and this was back when there were rumors about her being fired from people more than just the dipshit bait tubers,
drama tubers every week.
I told Jammer, I was like, dude, without her, Johnson doesn't have a Star Wars movie at Lucasfilm. I was like, she's it. And no, that's not it. No, dude. It's
and I'll tell you.
I mean, that's
a big
not
reason
to say
why.
That if she left, that he wouldn't get one. It's just that she seems to be championing him.
No, I would bet money without her in that office, he could come to them with anything, and they would say nope.
Yep. I think you're exactly right on that. And a big reason behind that is that. And you can watch the makings of The Last Jedi documentaries to even see this part, but Rian Johnson and Carrie Fisher had a very close relationship, and Kathleen Kennedy had a very close relationship with Carrie Fisher. And so while they were making The Last Jedi, Carrie Fisher basically, as much as people dog Rian Johnson on that, if Carrie Fisher was still alive, she would own up to it and say, I made a lot of those changes to the script and everything. And even though it's majority Rian Johnson's script, they went, during filming and went through and would rewrite script lines and stuff and everything. And the way he treated Carrie Fisher and stuff, that meant the world to Kathleen Kennedy. Kathleen Kennedy thinks Rian Johnson is the greatest thing. And so.
And here's the thing. I said this in one of the comments on a man, I don't remember if it was YouTube or one of the articles, but somebody. Maybe it was Facebook. Anyway, somebody was complaining about Kennedy, and they were saying she was on the chopping block. I was like, dude, she's never legitimately been on the chopping block. And I said, this is why she's one of the most, if not the most powerful producer in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. She could be a big time exec, but she doesn't want to be. And I said, it's not because of her storytelling; it's her fucking connections. The lady
Spielberg,
has been in Hollywood. Exactly. Yep. She has a lot of, and that's not me saying, oh, I think she's great. This is just facts. She's very well connected. She can get things done. She can call in favors. She's good for the studio. She might not be the best for fans. She might not even be the best for money.
You also have to consider that she's
good enough.
Made money.
Exactly. That's what I just said. She's good enough on the money side. But she is powerful because of who she is. I mean, look. I pointed it out before. Look at what she did for the Jurassic Park crew during the hurricanes hitting the islands. That was all Kennedy's connection.
Here's Kennedy's weakness. She does not know how to pick directors. She can find money. She can put a team together. But the weakest part is, and I think she's getting better with this, but she's been doing this for years.
Or at least taking advice now.
Yes, or taking advice. You're right. Is she for a while there when it was just her? Her track record on directors was not good. No.
Well, to say the least, to say the least.
Abrams, Johnson, Chris Miller, right? Lord and Miller, that's right. Then the Rogue One was it Tony Gilroy? Was it
Gareth Edwards?
Gareth Edwards. Gareth, that was episode 9, right? Was it Gareth Edwards?
No. Trent completely dropped out. Edwards did Rogue One first.
But it was apparently Gilroy finished it, and then
Gilroy finished it. Yeah, so I mean that's
Favreau
what the span of
for episode 9.
Favreau, that's what it was. Favreau for 9. But look all those directors and all that chaos right there, and that's where like in the article, and we can talk about it later, or whatever. But when she's saying we learned from Solo, and she talked about the biggest lesson was we can't recast some of these characters. I don't think that was the biggest lesson. I think the biggest lesson from Solo and therefore
I think we all
gotta get the right
director. When we were talking on sort of Discord and stuff, that if that is the message she got, I think she got the wrong message, because it wasn't the recasting.
I think it was a misquote, or just kind of like, when you're talking, I think, and then
it was
you got to take
conversation into that they went for.
Yeah, I think when you're taking conversation and putting it into print, I think they took that snippet right there and put it in, because I don't see that as her admitting. I don't. Maybe she is, but
especially with the Lando show coming out, and you had Donald Glover himself saying that he's still
working on it.
Yeah, to saying that the recasting was the biggest issue that you learn from.
Use your writing and directing crap.
Yeah, because I mean, shoot, for the longest, how long was it that fans wanted what's the actor who played Bucky Barnes?
Sebastian Stan.
Sebastian Stan. If you had gotten Sebastian Stan to play a young Luke Skywalker and Mando and stuff like that, the fans would have freaked out. You know,
If he was good. You know,
I mean, the guy's good. The guy's a great actor. I think he can.
Yeah, I know.
It's not like he's holding a show all by himself. It's not the Luke Skywalker show. It's a couple seconds here, a couple seconds there. Yeah. If you put him in that scenario, dude, the fans would have gone crazy for that.
Well, I think the main thing is we should get a bit more concrete information. Well, you'll get it when you're at Celebration next week, Shockey, because
everyone will get it. It's live streamed.
You know, this was March, obviously, that Kennedy was talking, and she said we'll probably get a bit more specific in a couple of months, March, April, May. You know, Star Wars Celebration. So, you know, I'm expecting we maybe hear a little bit more next week, possibly.
I think we find out Bad Batch. We're going to find out at least 2 to 3 video games that are in production. Titles and dates, you know, all these panels with all the shows coming up and stuff. So let's take a little word from our sponsors, and then we'll move on with some of the other things that come out of the Vanity Fair articles. All right.
Grow Generation, where the pros go to grow. Grow Generation is your one-stop shop for hydroponic grow supplies, product systems, and more. Grow Generation serves customers across the nation and carries a wide inventory of renowned cultivation brands. Go to www.growgeneration.com, where the pros go to grow.
You and I will carry on with the Andor and Acolyte stuff if necessary, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks. We're just doing some business during the ad break. Cam, Grammar Rodeo's a little different than what we expected, man. What's up with that?
So there was a little bit surprising, considering. Do you know? I've just realised I spelt grammar wrong in the title. Did none of you guys notice that?
Grammar. I left it. I thought it was like that.
That was like 2 days ago, and I haven't spotted that yet. But I saw it. Nobody else spotted it and let me know. So bad.
No, you're good.
It's kind of my job to notice these things, but anyway, did a good job, Cam.
I'm just a podcaster, editor in name only.
I'll fix that later, guys. But yeah, you know that we've been hearing about this show for quite some time, and it was just a code name, Grammar Rodeo. I was kind of surprised in the Vanity Fair coverage that they mentioned this and said, like, all it's got is this code name at the moment. That's kind of unusual behaviour. And I kind of wonder if it's so that they can kind of set the expectations, because maybe we were getting some of that information wrong, and you know we're kind of involved in that as well. So just to break it down, what we had heard, and I know Jordan Mason of Cinelink heard exactly the same information as us from a completely different source, was there was a show getting made. It was codenamed Grammar Rodeo, which we got right. I think we were first to say Grammar Rodeo, and it would have a young cast, and then we saw some casting calls that came after that. A few people said, oh, they just went by the casting calls, but the casting calls actually came after that. But the other thing we had heard about it, both of us from completely different separate sources, was that it was going to be based in the High Republic, and we've talked about that many times in the Cantina. But actually, the Vanity Fair article gives us a bit more information on it, and it makes it clear that actually this is not a High Republic show, but something that is going to be set post Return of the Jedi, which is basically the Mandoverse era, if you like. So here's the exact quote of what it said in the Vanity Fair article. Another new series in the horizon doesn't even have a title, just a code name, Grammar Rodeo, a reference to an episode of The Simpsons which Bart and his schoolmates steal a car and run away for a week, etc., etc. The show takes place post Return of the Jedi reconstruction that follows the fall of the Empire. The same as The Mandalorian, but its plot remains a secret. It's created and executive produced by director John Watts and writer Chris Ford, who made Spider-Man Homecoming for Marvel. Casting notice is called for 4 children, around 11 to 12 years old, and inside Lucasfilm, the show is being described as a galactic version of a classic Amblin coming-of-age adventure films of the 80s. So that kind of backs up almost everything that we knew about it, even the rumour that, because remember, it wasn't from us, but we covered a rumour from someone else, can't remember now, you got it right, whoever that was, that John Watts was involved. But they had thought he was in talks to direct it, but actually he's involved in the creation of this show from the ground up, it seems, along with his writing partner, Chris Ford. So it doesn't necessarily say he will or won't direct it, but he's certainly executive producing this show anyway. I want to ask you what you think about this, but it's also strange that we got all the rest of the information right and then get the setting wrong. So I don't know where that one's came from two completely different sources. I was quite surprised at that. Shockey, what do you think about all this so far?
Well, I'm going to tell you, like in the past, say 3 to 4 months, like some of the information I've gotten now, I'm starting to second guess. I was so confident in, and it's, I think, Kyle is kind of dubbed it the counterintelligent ops. I think there's been a lot of leaks with Kenobi.
A lot of
throwing all with us, and that I think now it's kind of marketing or whoever's in charge of it is now trying to get some of these scoopers, including myself, off the beaten path and getting things wrong and feeding us information. So. I mean, the High Republic show, there's a lot of people still say there's one in development. So maybe it's just,
There's a lot of excited people for it. Like
Either
about 50,000.
Yeah.
But I wasn't too excited about it, but, some people were. So
go back to when, this is another way. I remember this was a while ago, but when Mando season 1 came out, I had gotten wind, it was another story we wrote that there were like 4 shows in development that were all tying together. And it was Ahsoka, Boba Fett, the Ezra Thrawn show, and then there was another one that it was just kind of laying underneath, under the radar. Like there was no information,
I always thought that became, because then later on we had the Gino Carano story that became Rangers of the New Republic, which is dead.
That's what I agree with, and that's what I thought too. But when
you're starting to second guess it.
Yeah, like the Rangers of the New Republic was more as a reaction to the popularity of Cara Dune's character and Gina Carano and kind of what Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau could build off of Mando season 1, where the Ahsoka, Ezra, Boba Fett, those were already in play. Like that was kind of like, if this goes right, then we can do these stories. And the 4th one was this just hidden project that was just mentioned to me, and it was like there's
we didn't have any details at the
around
time.
the same time. Boba Fett's going to be around the same time. Ahsoka's going to be the same timeline and stuff. So with this one now saying it's post Return of the Jedi, it might have been that. I can't tell you 100% if that was the case, but it seems like.
Do you know what the? Sorry, on you go.
It just seems like this is one has been worked on for a while. Like this is something that not just all of a sudden, hey, we're going to put this together. It's something that they've been working on for quite some time. And like the description of it, the kind of the 1980s coming of age, like to come up with that idea, and that's you got to think about it for a while. So
do you know what the fans are guessing this is, and then they're going to
Stranger
because
Things.
It's got a young cast, so they think it's going to be something to do with Luke's Jedi Academy and set in the same sort of time period, and we're going to get Luke and
Stranger Things meets the Jedi.
It's possible. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but I just don't want people to kind of get like there's no clues that is what it is, and I don't want people to kind of get their hopes up that that's what this will be when we really just don't know anything at the moment, because.
You can definitely, when you're talking about the Force, a supernatural Force,
it could be the Ben Solo show. It could be that.
Are you serious?
If it takes post Return of the Jedi,
I would assume that would be focused on the Academy as well.
Yeah, I mean that's you have Luke, you have the Jedi Academy, you're in that same time frame leading up to the First Order and stuff like that. it could be like four friends, and then all of a sudden Ben Solo comes in, and it could be the Knights of Ren. Who knows? Like that would be a story.
Honestly, for me, I'm just thinking all bets are off at the moment. I've genuinely no idea what this is.
I'm with you guys.
I'm not
too.
kind of going to guess anymore, about it, because I kind of thought I had an idea of where this was coming with all the information that we had, and we talked to Jordan about his information behind the scene, and I kind of thought I had an idea of where it's coming, and now that's kind of all been thrown out the window a little bit. So you kind of just makes you doubt everything. Doesn't it? And it's a case of just wait and see what we find out, if anything, sort of celebration, I guess.
Yeah. Anyways, I guess got what? A few minutes before Shockey's got to go.
Yep.
Shockey, I specifically because all of our takes were fairly close together, but you had a little bit more faith in the Book of Boba Fett than Cam and I did overall, even though Cam really liked some of the past stuff and was more of a fan of the second half than the first. But what do you think about this interview with Favreau talking about the reaction to the kinder, gentler he's not even a kind, gentler mob boss in my mind, but Book of Boba Fett, comparing him to the elder Don Corleone, flashbacks with De Niro, and the old things about the old Italian mob, staying away from guns, only using violence at the most point, but at least they actually did some violence. What do you think, man? Is he reaching? I saw another line I'll preempt with as well. He was talking about how Boba Fett doesn't do anything to Han except track him down, and that there was no evidence that he was a badass in the OT, which overall I do
well,
agree with.
We agreed. We always said that. You and I agreed with that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That the only thing that kind of gives him a bit of an edge is the fact Vader has to tell him, don't disintegrate anybody. But what do you think about Boba Fett from Favreau's point of view?
Yeah, I kind of see what Favreau's getting at, because if we look at Mandalorian, when we're introduced to him, he's this badass, and then we learn to love him because he has a softer side to him. He's supposed to be this hardcore, Mandalorian, this is the way style, and he ends up, taking Grogu with him, and and breaking all the rules. So it's I kind of see that's what Favreau is pointing to, is like, hey, look, you guys as fans, we've created this myth about Boba Fett being this ultimate badass bad guy and stuff, and I understand in a sense what he's trying to talk about the parallels between him and Don Corleone, but I don't think that Boba was ever Don Corleone in this. Like, this was not the mob.
This was never a crime boss at
all. Like, if you take less time focusing on what he did post, or like getting out of the Sarlacc and dealing with the Tuskens, and you set it up to where he takes over Jabba's palace, and he actually makes a legit gangster affiliation, not the moped crew and stuff, like an actual, like, get some bounty hunters, Black Chrysanthemum was a good stuff, but get Bosk in there, get Dengar, whoever,
different crime gangs, get them to play by his rules, and
and do it that way. And he could, but then he could be Don Corleone, where he's got a little bit softer side to him, and stuff, but when the hammer needs to come down, it comes down. But
he never once.
You're trying to compare the Italian mob and Don Corleone to what Boba Fett and the moped crew did. It would look like more of a Sandlot crew. That to me is a stretch. I see where he's trying to get it to.
I see what he was trying to do.
Yeah, but it was it definitely didn't pull off. And I now, in the grand scheme of things, the Book of Boba Fett, now that I've seen it all, I enjoy it. Here's where I think Disney Plus or whatever marketing wise did a disservice. Well, number one, Robert Rodriguez hyped that up way too high. Like, he never let a director, anybody close to a project, try to talk about it and say it's the best thing since sliced bread, because it never pans out. But the other thing is that series should have been released all at one time. It should have been binge watched. You get it all, but the anticipation, the wait every week, and it's kind of a letdown until finally Mando shows up and then Luke shows up. You know,
and then it was
great. Now it's great. You know, stuff like that. But if it had just been binge watched, you release all 6 episodes and say have at it, it still would have been watched. It still would have been one of the most well-streamed shows. But I think you get a better reaction to it. So I understand Disney Plus's strategy of a weekly release for things. I think that's where it backfires. Where Netflix, they could do that with like Stranger Things. I think you could do a weekly release of Stranger Things and it would be still a hit. But there's some things you have to just dump it all at one time. You know?
Maybe one day when they've literally got enough stuff in pocket, like in the can, that they can actually have more flexible schedules. But right now they're trying to fill in gaps. Cam, what do you think, man? Do you buy it?
A big Godfather fan, right? So I talked a little bit about in the article covering it about the relationship between Vito, what's different between him and Michael and everything like that. And it's a really complex movie, The Godfather. You know, it's an analysis of mafia life, but also the change of that life, the modernization of it from something that maybe could be deemed slightly more chivalric. You know, it was about the poor people sticking up for themselves because no one else would. That's where Vito comes from. Michael comes from a privileged background as a completely, and loses his family as a result of it. There's consequences. That's what The Godfather does. It's a proper drama that gives you consequences. And well, to begin with, you and I said this is what they should be aiming at. That's the kind of, we said Sopranos though. Yeah. Whereas, Tony Soprano's a bad guy, but you can enjoy watching a show with him as the main protagonist. And that's kind of weird, rather than thinking, even more highbrow and going Vito Corleone. But so I get where he's coming from, but he
take it easy, Mike.
Cheers, Mike. Thanks for coming on. And what was I saying? Yeah, I think it's just you aim for the stars, but they didn't get anywhere near it. If that's what they were kind of going for, you have to really sell that. They had to give. The drama had to be in seeing Boba become that character and feel the decisions that he has to make, and also have consequences to those decisions that are made as well, I think, which we just didn't really get within the Book of Boba Fett. I mean, what I said in my article was that I think it's possible that if they ever did a season 2, they could push it in that direction, but I'm not convinced we ever will get a season 2 of the Book of Boba Fett. And if we do, I certainly don't want it to be the same as season 1 with the Vesper crew and all that sort of stuff, because the action and everything just wasn't good. It looked cheap. That's the thing. Book of Boba Fett looked cheap. I don't know whether that's Robert Rodriguez's, because that's kind of his style, but it kind of made me think of We Will Be, what's it called? We Will Be Heroes. Is that what it was called? I can't remember what the bloody name of that film. We Can Be Heroes. The film that with the kids that Robert Rodriguez. It's a kids film, but to me,
like the Spy Kids.
Yeah, it looks cheap even for a kids film, and I kind of
they're made in his backyard studio. So but I was reminded of that a little bit in Book of Boba Fett, and I don't think we need to be reminded of that kind of film within the Star Wars universe for me. Not at all. Yeah, I also don't buy it. I also don't buy it. It just. If he would have done something criminal, but instead he's like the independent third party brought in to try to calm things down between the two with talk only, not any power. The arbiter or. I mean,
I mean, I know what you mean. I mean, if we had
but he didn't even do that well.
For Fennec to go and assassinate someone to facilitate, because someone needed to die, in order
it has to happen eventually.
I
mean, they even said some of the
might not like it, but he sends her out to do a job because that's what a crime boss does. That would have worked for me.
They even set the seeds for that with like times where she's like, "Dude, you got to put the hammer down," and he's like, "Okay, you might be right." but I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Anyways, I do want to talk at least about the Acolyte. So one thing I didn't get to ask you guys, this whole idea of sticking around the post Return of the Jedi time frame, Cam, you and I are one of those where we're kind of like we could get out of here, but we know that there's potential here. My only fear about, yeah, sure, shows could still be potentially good. It's just, dude, we've already been we're you know what I'm saying? I'm antsy.
Yeah.
And what are you feeling about
I
that?
kind
Man?
of see if we had another era already in the go, it might not be as bad when we were getting something from the post sort of Jedi era, but I guess that's why a lot of fans maybe were disappointed that Grammar Rodeo turned out to be something that was post Return of the Jedi instead of High Republic, because I think fans wanted to see something different. Maybe we get that in the movies, but again, we don't know that for certain. We don't know. All we know is the stuff that's out there at the moment. But one show we do know that obviously is going to be outside of that era is the Acolyte, and Kennedy kind of almost talks about it like the Acolyte's a bit of an experiment, if you like, in going through that on other era, and that if the Acolyte is successful, we could see more shows set around that era. Sure.
You're good. Keep talking.
So I guess fingers crossed, we would always want every Star Wars show to be a success anyway, but I kind of feel that there's a lot riding on this Leslie Headland show because of that, because I don't want it to fail, because I do want to see them branch out, and if it fails it might mean that we're stuck in that post Jedi era forever, if that makes sense.
Yeah I got the quotes up about some of the setting and
I mean most of this we kind of knew, but there's a few interesting snippets in there. Obviously 100 years before Phantom Menace, we knew that already. So it's not really connected to that original trilogy. But, and this is something she said before as well, what interested Leslie Headland was, why is the Republic like it is at the point we see things in the Phantom Menace? It's pretty corrupt. The dark side's growing. The Jedi are kind of almost being used as a police force. So how did this advanced society get like that? How did the Sith get into such a position of power? Which Palpatine absolutely is in a position of power and pulling strings at the point we meet them in the Phantom Menace. So what created that? And that is an interesting topic to look at if you go back far enough to kind of see where that come from. How do we go from the High Republic when the Sith were very quiet and just hiding out, and the Jedi were seemingly so unneeded that they weren't really doing much around the galaxy. I guess the only thing that she said that kind of made me a little bit was when she's talking about potential uniforms that they would wear. And she said, this is what she said, I'll read it out. We actually use the term Renaissance or the Age of Enlightenment, she says, about this particular period of time. Jedis were not always ascetic monk-like figures living selflessly and bravely. The Jedi uniforms are gold and white, and it's almost like they would never get dirty, they would never be out and about, Headland says. The idea is could have these types of uniforms because that's how little they're getting into skirmishes. So, we're talking about a society which is kind of governing itself. I mean, what would your thoughts be in a Jedi order at that period of time? It would be meeting more that they're more monk-like and they're more like studying the Force and just getting, like hippies. Than
the High Republic books and stuff are set 200 years prior, and every single piece of artwork, every piece of artwork has the Jedi in what we think of as Jedi being in clothing style. Yeah. This is the tail end. So what I'm guessing is, and this is just more evidence of how much Disney and Lucasfilm play with the canon and picking very, very small places to play. This is the Pax Galactica. This is the Pax Republica of Star Wars. This is the key point. This is after defeating this High Republic threat.
Yeah.
They enter their peak, right? And because it always
But
takes
it
a really
doesn't
long
last.
time to climb up, and of course the peak is only this short period of time. 50, 60 years before we start getting real, closer to Phantom Menace
And then something
and corruption,
happens,
right?
which
So
we find out about in the
I
Acolyte,
think
which
they
is
can make it
different direction.
work in that mindset. Because they even got some time to play with another dark side threat between this plant creature stuff in the High Republic and in this 100 years prior time frame to where excuse me, the whole reason they can enter this grand period is the plant people been defeated and the Sith are licking their wounds. So I can see where they can fit it in. I just don't really like it because everything I know is to make toys. Lucas did things just to sell toys, but at least he believed in world creation and reusing things within his universe and stuff. But
Leslie Headland's a good writer as well, and
yes, I
not
love
that,
Russian Doll. Both good, great shows.
But I think we have to wait and see. They've got a lot of time in this. She brought in a writer's room. It's not as if it's just something she come up with. I mean, the concept comes from her, but she brought in a lot of people to make sure this was all kind of landing. Which we've talked about before, even people that hadn't really seen Star Wars before, because she wanted to kind of see how this would work as just a story, irrespective of whether it was Star Wars or not, which we'll find out whether that was a good idea or not. I kind of want it to work because it feels like the dark side is going to be very relevant to this, and that we might be exploring some sides of the Star Wars universe that we haven't before. So I'm kind of really excited for it in terms of, I hope it's good, but we'll just have to wait and see, because if it is and we get more round about that period and really see the galaxy turn to shit basically, and the Jedi become to the point where they're overworked, which is kind of where we are when we get into the prequels, that would be, it would definitely, there's what's the word I'm looking for? There's grass there to mow, if that makes sense. There's grass there to graze on in that period for sure, but we're just going to have to wait and see how it all pans out once we see the finished article, I guess.
That's all. All we can do is just wait. And I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up there. You had already mentioned a bit about the Andor stuff anyways. Mothma being a bigger player, and I'm fairly certain Bale will be a bigger player.
The only other part of that was mentioned, which we've talked about before, so we kind of guessed this anyway, is that it would be about Andor seeing the Empire in a bad way and therefore pushing himself towards the rebellion, and we kind of got that confirmed from some comments from Tony Gilroy, and that's roughly speaking where we set things off in Andor. So, again, not too many spoiler details in there, just some basic information about the kind of how the show begins, and then we'll see where we kind of go from there. It's not, at least we know it's not too long wait now.
Yeah, right. Anyways, guys, it's been great this week. Thanks so much for joining. Sorry that my camera froze at one point, and then the funny things you had to see with the camera for Mike left, but I don't know how to. I don't know if I could add I could add another slide. That's for. Anyways, I'm getting into business side. Speaking of business, make sure you're checking out our website every day for all of your entertainment news, needs, and opinions. Anime news, trailers, interviews, reviews, all sorts of stuff, as well as the podcast. All available lrmonline.com. The YouTube channel, hit that red subscribe button right there. Thank you to everyone that has been subscribing. It's been a lot of fun doing the trailer reactions on the YouTube channel. So, if you love the podcasts and you're just listening to this, we got all of these in video format, as well as trailer reactions on the YouTube channel. So head over there and leave us some comments on what we could do better and stuff like that. I already said everything's available in audio format wherever you get your podcast from: Google, Spotify, Apple, all sorts of wonderful things. Just, apps, use them. Cam, my brain is obviously crashing.
Obviously not working.
You
Been a lot to take
talk
in
about
this
the site
show.
stuff.
Yeah, I mean, obviously go to lrmonline.com. All the stories that we've covered today are things that, don't spawn from us, but certainly we cover them and we give our opinions on them as well. So there's a lot of written content. There's interviews are all, most of the interviews are all, there's written versions of them as well that you can find. All of this is on lrmonline.com. And if you think that there's something that we're not covering, why not come and write for us and cover what we're not covering a little bit more detail if that's something that you're a fan of, because there's going to be other people like you out there that are really into that content, and we are absolutely about enabling that if possible. You can find me at LRM_Cam. Please hit me up on Twitter if you're interested in joining us at all, or anything else. My email address is available. You can find it on the lrmonline.com, or email addresses are on there. We get enough spam that it's not hard to find our email addresses, trust me. And give us a shout if you're interested in that. Kel, any last words from you?
Just, hey guys, may the force be with you.